Hello, friends. Greetings to all, wherever you are, whenever you are. Just had this experience that demands to be shared to whoever it may benefit, and to whoever is magnetized towards it. If you find yourself watching this video, you know why you're here. So I just got in from a day on the mountain, and I was just taking off my boots and my jacket. And for anybody who's snow skis or snowboards, it's like, there's layers of stuff that you have on your body. And I just was thoughtless. I experienced no thought, and I experienced my body as in a process, engaged in a process that I had nothing to do with. It was almost like I was watching my body unclothe itself because it was wanting less layers on. And I was just really aware of physical sensation, but I wasn't in time. Like, I wasn't in a rush to get the clothes off or the boots off. I was like enjoying every step. And it wasn't even that I was enjoying it, like, oh, I love undressing myself. Like, it was just, oh, this is what's happening. Cool. It was like I didn't care, and the fact that I didn't care felt really good, and then I was aware of that felt good. And I was also aware that if I emphasized that it felt good, then it would take away from what was being experienced as feeling good. And so it was like I was noticing the mind knocking at the door of participation, but it wasn't participating. It wasn't involved. I was aware of a body undressing itself, and my perspective was inside of the body. And so this is some framework that's come recently and thoroughly installed itself in my experience. And from what I understand, it is the door handle into it is non-duality, practical non-duality. And I just came across the raw material, the law of one. And I've been tuning into Bentinho Massaro's teachings for probably the past year or so. And a lot of his teachings are aligned with, from my understanding, that material, the raw material, law of one. But I haven't read that material yet as an idea in linear time. But everything that I've come across from it feels great. It feels like practical non-duality. Yeah, there's like a stillness and a tangible serenity that I feel I've been navigating towards consciously and unconsciously for years. And the mind didn't have support systems as to how to just allow it. Things like stress and things like modern world living come in, and they're like, you can't be peaceful right now. You have to be, whatever. It's like the mind gets jealous of the soul light awareness experiencing the body without it. And so, this one has been given this very specific access point into this idea called non-duality, called MOON, which has a very brief general acronym, stands for missing out on nothing, which basically means that you're mirroring outer oscillations now. That just, maybe that's what it is, I'm not sure. But it's specifically a practical remedy for FOMO. And that thing that just came through just now is like, yeah, the mind does get jealous. The mind feels like it's missing out. And it causes this really micro, nuanced, subtle stress continuum perpetually. Something's always wrong, something's always missing, something's always off, this could be better, this could be better. And so the mind's like angling its attention at like, it's like finding all of these things that are off, that are wrong. And if you're pointing at what's wrong, you can't be noticing what is. And if you're not noticing what is, then you're for sure missing out on what is. So MOON is this remedy that came to this one for over the course of like 7 to 8 years. Prayer, meditation, interfacing with angelic realms, saw some demonic entities leave people's bodies, was really confused, was like, what is going on? Yeshua, aka Jesus, came into my experience and gave me a very specific angle of orientation. Archangel Michael came, gave me a very specific angle of orientation. Then yoga came, gave all the lensings a very specific calibration that moved towards the non-self, which prior Buddhist ideas had infiltrated and removed Christian ideas of permanent sin and permanent wrongfulness and guilt and shame complexes that were so thoroughly woven into the identity structure that it was creating quantum claustrophobia. And so amongst it, there was this prayer, just like, I want a first-hand experience with the hand of God. I want an undeniable first-hand experience of the Almighty, of the divine, of the infinite, of source, of the creator, of the Godhead, of all these different words that point at it. I wanted a first-hand experience, so I don't have to go off of anybody else's words of it. And I got that. It's 2018 right now, December 24th. And I first sent that signal out when, October 2008. I remember that specifically because it was my first experience of conscious depression. I was 17 years old. No, I was 18 years old. Time, age. And I just remember for the first time being like, what is wrong with me? I thought I should be happy by now. Because like, I think I had an interaction with a loved one and a partner, and like kind of disconnected, and then there's like that feeling of loneliness, and the noticed identity structure at that time always returned to optimism of some kind, or ambition, or some kind of emergent, immersive, pleasant emotional amplitude. And at that time, October 2008, I remember it was just so heavy, and it felt like muck, it felt like mud, it felt like weight, it felt like death. And I remember that was the first time I prayed really specifically about, I didn't want to be depressed. Like, why am I depressed? Can I end this? How do I end this? Please help me. At that time, was very much in a Christian orientation. And so now there's this experience of timelessness often. Like linear time only exists in the mind. Okay, that's a cool idea, but experientially, if you're so immersed in what you're doing at any given point, all there is what you're doing. And so, yeah, the mind says, well, I can't really let go of this and this and the future and the past and all these different things. I can't really let go of all these things because they're relevant and they're going to prevent me from being able to actually do what I'm doing right now. So I can't let go of that. Blah, 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 blah. And the nowness is never experienced. If that orientation is intrinsic and woven in to the point where you can't untangle. So yeah, I was taking off layers of my physical shell. Upon doing so, I noticed that all there was the current activity. And I just focused on it. And then I remember I was untying a boot, and the physical information notified me that waste was ready to be excreted, aka I had to poop. And I untangled the boot, and I noticed that bodily sensation. I wasn't really noticing breath or anything. I was just focusing on one piece of clothing at a time. And that made time disappear. And there was a warm bliss that wasn't excited, that was still and calm, that was coming into me and leaving me as I noticed my body interacting with whatever was in front of me. The stillness and that serenity had nothing to do with what was outside of me or what I was perceiving my body as doing. The serenity was experienced because of framework that I have installed, that I notice has been installed into my framework I understand as being called mind. It is the component of myself that I understand to be called mind. And so there has been alchemy here. There has been a process here of shedding, and I was there for it. And now is my testimony, because I was aware of having more on than I do now. And yet there's so much that is still here, that was there, that did not change during a process that I understand to be very specifically called changing. Blessings to you on your journey. Namaste.